said they might be a little late, and I'm like, that's fine. Just like somebody said they can come till 11:30. I'm like, that's fine. Just coming for part of it. That's cool. So
I know Rocky probably messaged you already, but his product alignment meeting got rolled up.
Yes. He said you were representing for him.
Yeah, he feels bad to miss it.
I told them that he sends his love. So you're good.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Matt is recording this so that we can show it to anybody who is missing out on this great thing. And welcome to Islands of Brilliance. My name is Amy Mason. I'm the Director of Integrated Learning at Islands of Brilliance, and I work on Digital Academy, which is one of our layers of programming that you'll see in a really cool visual in a little bit. I'm also going to introduce Matt Uzanis, who is my partner in crime for Digital Academy. He's running our technology today, like doing the recording. He's going to have a slideshow. And then I'll also introduce Mark Fairbanks. He is our executive director at Digital Academy and has really been instrumental in getting this partnership together and helping us make the vision for what Digital Academy will be doing with Kohls. So it's been really fun to all work together on it with Danae and Rocky. So we're so glad that you're going to participate with us. And we want to tell you a little bit about Islands of Brilliance. And we want to tell you a little bit about what we've done in Digital Academy and then what the project will look like from a high level, because it's a lot of information and we know that you won't be able to absorb all of it, but we want to just give you a little view of it. So Matt's gonna start the deck. Islands of Brilliance, this is our summer design sprint. Every summer we do a more intense opportunity for students. And you'll see some of the things that we've done in the past in the summer sprints. So as I said, and I will say a million more times, we're very excited about this partnership. We think that the opportunities here for our students to continue to work on their professional behaviors, for them to create alongside professionals in the field of design and understanding what goes into the world of work when they think about themselves. The experiences that they've had so far in Digital Academy have given them those opportunities. And I think this partnership will definitely give them the chance to think about what it means to be a worker and to be able to create with industry professionals. So we are just thrilled about this. So I'll tell you a little bit about Islands of Brilliance. This is our mission. By using creativity, technology, and one-to-one guidance, we are positively changing personal perceptions of self and promoting broader community views of those on the autism spectrum, from people with disabilities to people with capabilities. And these are some images. We're in person prior to March of 2020. So these images are some in-person images. We have switched to an all virtual format that is proving to be quite successful for our students and for our mentors. Transportation was one of our biggest barriers that we found getting students into our studio. So this opportunity to work virtually has really helped. Mark, do you want to talk about this slide? You're so good at it.
This is the reason why slide that we show a lot and talk about. And what we're really trying to do at Islands is create an early workforce development program. Really in the rise in prevalence in recent years to 1 in 54 children are now identified on the autism spectrum. You know, that's essentially 2% of kids between the ages of 3 and 17. And what awaits them when they become young adults and of employment age is an 83% unemployment rate. So that is just a huge number. So what we do, not only from kind of the Digital Academy, which is really our true workforce development, we're starting with kids as young as age 8 to give them the ability to explore, to use creativity as a means to drive self-confidence and peer-to-peer relationships, as well as relationships with adults where they can advocate for themselves. So we really look at what we're doing as not only workforce development, but also quality of life, and really using creativity, design software to boost self-confidence and to give them, a leg up on this, what we really see as this bridge to employment and independence that they are, all families are looking for their children when they become adults.
Thanks, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
So we do talk about these root causes of this monumental unemployment. We have found in our experiences that traditional transition planning in high schools is quite fixed and not happening soon enough. So that's what Mark was talking about. Let's make that thinking happen a little sooner. It's mandated in the state of Wisconsin that it starts happening at 14. And I spent a lot of time in public schools, and I've seen various versions of that 14-year-old transition plan starting. So I think what we offer is a chance to start thinking about it even earlier. I also think that the perceptions of what neurodiverse people are capable of and fear of for the person themselves getting out there and being employed or thinking about working, or for the families, helping their student get to where they want to be, and even for in places of employment to bring in somebody who's neurodiverse. We're looking to change that perception about self and what a family would think about their child, and what an employment opportunity would think. Going into that too, parents, if they don't know what their child's capable of, their expectations are not going to be as high for what they can participate in. Our parents consistently tell us that they just can't believe the things that their students are doing in the context of our workshops and in our Digital Academy experiences, that they're always just amazed. And then it raises their expectations on what they think their child's going to do. So again, like Mark said, we're definitely looking at Digital Academy being a workforce development platform for students with autism. That longer bridge to employment is definitely on our radar all the time. Even when we bring a young child in who's 8 years old to a foundation workshop, we're already talking about flexibility. We're already talking about collaborating with another human on a project. So those things start very early in our workshops. So then we got excited about working with Kohls. So we are very confident that what we know about Kohls and what we know about IOB is that we share a lot of values, and what diverse employment looks like, or a neurodiverse workforce can look like. So we were excited to have this opportunity to be able to work together. And I think as mentors in this experience, or as people who engage with our students, you'll find some changed perceptions yourself. So what is Digital Academy? It's our highest level learning program. You can see the triangle there that's orange. There's 3 layers to our programming, and the layer at the bottom, the widest part of the triangle, is an all access layer. So there's not very many technical skills required. There's not a lot of soft skills required to engage in those workshops. And then as you move through the different layers of programming, you get to the top triangle, and there are more skills required to participate in them. For example, they have to think outside their topic area. So our students they initially engage with us because they have something they really are good at, or something they can really think about and talk about a lot. And they make a poster about that thing in our foundation workshops, or they draw that thing in our Doodle Lounge workshops, which are those other layers of programming. When they get to a Digital Academy workshop, they're asked to think about stuff that we want them to think about. Like an employer would say, okay, it's great that you like Pokemon. Let's think about, for example, with Kohls, the project that we're going to work on with Kohls. So they have to think outside that area of interest. They have to be flexible, take feedback, They don't have to be perfect at any of these things, because who is perfect at any of those things, but they have to be able to be open to working on that and understand that it's a part of being employed. So these are some projects that we've worked on in the past, and we have some visuals for those. So we're going to go through those. This was one of our very first big Digital Academy projects. Pretty cool. Has anyone ever seen the lights on the Hone Bridge? You guys been over there? It is fun on Saturday nights. They do like a little show. Like if you drive down there with an ice cream cone, you can watch the show, hear a song, and it's pretty cool. We partnered with the Civic Initiative for Light the Hone, and we created a virtual reality experience that demonstrated what the lights would look like on the bridge when it was done. So this was done, we did this project before the bridge was lit up. And we worked with UWM, some staff from UWM. We worked with, they were called Outer Rim Studios at the time. Right now they're called Foresight Studios now. And it was a really neat experience for our students. They learned some pretty amazing high-level software in order to create this experience. So we have another picture of that. Yep, there's Mayor Tom Barrett in our experience. That was pretty neat. We showcased the experience all around Milwaukee. So these are the different places that the experience went, and we took our students, and our students showed other people how to do it. This is Nathan, he's standing next to Mayor Barrett, and he's showing Mayor Barrett how to get into the experience. And that was pretty neat. The other thing that you'll hear about from us is that we use a design thinking methodology when we work. Has anyone heard of design thinking before? It's not unusual that you wouldn't have heard of it. It comes out of the Stanford D School, and it's a way to solve problems or to process through something. And Matt will have a visual of that later. But we do design thinking workshops with our Digital Academy students so that they can understand that process. So this is one we did at GE Healthcare, and we partnered with them. This is one of our most fun, I think, Digital Academy workshops that we did. 889 they're doing it right now. Actually, their spring drive to raise money for the station. And they asked us if our students would create a t-shirt for their spring drive. So we invited some Digital Academy students. We took them over to the radio station. You can see that picture in the lower right-hand corner is them iterating on what they heard about the station and getting ideas together to make a t-shirt. And the one in the upper left-hand corner, the 889 Radio Milwaukee, was designed by our very own Garrett Scott, who ironically is not showed in these pictures, but he made the t-shirt. And I don't know if anybody has it. That was one of our projects. Very cool.
Thanks, Amy. So yeah, what are we going to be doing with Kohls in this big, exciting partnership? We are planning to create a Kohls-centric experience for our students. And through that collaboration, we're definitely going to be fulfilling our mission of changing perceptions for the students of what's possible for them, hopefully with you guys of what they're capable of, and just all around with that experience and continuing to drive that workforce development mission that we have. So the way that we're going to do that, the challenge that we present to the students is that we will be developing a collection chosen by the students for a fictional Kohls product line. So they're going to be going through that entire experience in a condensed 2-week experience. So working in teams, they're going to develop trend mood boards, clothing designs, marketing materials, and we'll be doing that and learning about the product development process through multiple activities led by you, the Kohls professionals, as we then build our team's collections as we go through. As Amy had mentioned, we use the design thinking process. So this is really just to kind of inform you how our students are working through this process in their thinking. This experience will be a little bit less driven by the process, but this is just kind of an example of how our students are working and the level of thinking that they actually are being guided through and executing on. So the design thinking roadmap that we have here is what we start all of our experiences with the students with. And it's not a linear process. It follows more of the agile. You'll see a lot of arrows and circles because we loop back and you weave through it quite a bit. But you start with really understanding and collaborating and researching to understand the user and to understand the world of the problem that we're trying to solve. And so that's where we spend a whole lot of our time using interviews, case studies, research, all types of stuff like that, where they then move into actually defining what is that problem that they are solving. They'll then ideate on solutions, move into a prototyping phase, and then the test is ultimately our final presentation. So in the past, we've done this last spring, we had 3 individual sprints that we did over a month each. So the students actually were exposed to the process of creating programming for Islands of Brilliance. So that for 1 month, Islands of Brilliance was the client, and they provided all the ideas around new programming that they would like to see as users of the program. We then, in the next month, moved into a dental experience where they explored all the issues of neurodivergent patients in the dental experience and how could they make that better for themselves. And then this last month, we finished a program with Rangam where they were doing user experience design on their site SourceAbled, which is a job sourcing site, employment site for people with disabilities and veterans. And so they, again, as the users, were providing feedback on their experience of signing up for and finding jobs on their site. So this is a very flexible experience and roadmap that they use, but it has that thread that goes throughout all of this. So they're really learning that empathy piece and putting the user first in the solutions that they come up with. This very overwhelming visual slide is a very zoomed out version of a program that we use called Mural. It's a collaborative whiteboard essentially. And so what you see here are all those little colored squares were not there at the beginning of the experience. And this is taking you through the entire design thinking process. And this one was for this last experience of the user experience thing with Rangam. And so this board was completely blank. And then the students filled it in as we went through this 3-week experience of learning about what it means to be a user, what it means to look at websites and systems from a user-centric experience, and then developing new ones. So we will be using Mural as well through this experience. And so in here, all the presentations that you guys create and those activities will get fed into Mural for you guys. You don't have to worry too much about it. We'll be just using slide decks unless there is something that you want to do as an interactive experience, and we then can definitely use this. Basically just to show the students go deep. It's not just a high level experience. They really dive in and have many experiences throughout. Speaking of those experiences, for these 2 weeks, we have broken it up into time blocking that comes down to about 35% of the experience will be led by you guys collectively. We have breaks and we have stokes, which are basically like icebreakers, short activities to get the brain going. And we start each day with a question of the day. So about 10% of our experience of 32 hours total over these 2 weeks will be that. Then about 10% of that will be you guys teaching them about your roles in the design process, in the product development process, and what how you contribute to the team at Kohls. And then about 25% of that, about 9 hours, will be the activities that you guys lead relating on that job. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. And then 45% of that will be the students actually working on their collections that they're developing. You'll see in the next slide, this follows a cadence that has you guys introducing your role in the yellow. The green is that activity that you guys will be leading relating to your role. And then there's an orange block that follows that. So they'll be doing some work that applies to what they just learned to their development of the collection. And so it kind of follows that cadence throughout the entire 2-week experience. As you see towards the end, obviously more time for them to work on their experiences. So you see a lot more orange on their collections. The pink, big part of what we do at Digital Academy is not just learning about the design skills, we also dive into professional development conversations. And so we're really excited to have 2 experiences with the team from Kohls around professional development for our students as well. So what will you guys be doing and what are we asking you to build? And don't worry, we're here to help as we do it. If you should have gotten an invitation from Amy for Wednesday mornings over the next couple of weeks, where we'll have an opportunity to meet with the team at Islands of Brilliance to help you kind of develop and tweak that experience that you have in mind, that activity, to make sure that's the most successful and the most meaningful for our students. So we're here to help you with that. So what we're looking for, that upfront 5 to 10 minute presentation, just a high level about what is your job and how it relates to the creation of a collection at Kohls. Every time that we have a guest, part of our process that we do is that the students will listen to a brief presentation about your job, what you do, and then they will go into their breakout rooms via Zoom, and they'll come up with 2 questions for each team. We'll have 4 teams most likely on this project. So you can expect about 8 questions coming at you after your presentation about who you are, how you got to where you are, anything that they found interesting in the experience. So it's a really great way for them to have active listening and then together make sure that they have the opportunity to come back and ask more questions and just expand that conversation. Following that, we'll have a 30 to 45 minute experience where you guys will help them understand more about what your job is and have some new learnings relevant to your role or your team's role. And we'll talk a little bit more about that now. So the way that it breaks down by day, Monday, Rocky is doing a welcome to the project and the team and to an introduction to Kohls. And we'll probably have some Kohls Jeopardy type activity that is being developed. You'll see throughout this italics where there is a suggestion of an activity. By no means is this what we are saying you should be doing. This is with and Rocky's help, and Amy and Mark and I over the last couple months have been meeting, and we talked about what some activities could be around that. So again, by no means are we saying this is what we need you to do, but just helping you kind of have a little spark of what it could be. So
jumping into like, we can help you build that part. So don't panic that it's like, oh my God, I have this big project I have to do. I didn't know about that. So we've been brainstorming about it, and we can help direct that. So it's not like all on you guys to do that. The main part is that you're joining and interacting and talking about what you do. So don't worry about that as much as it might seem intimidating.
And the students definitely are just going to be excited to jump in and have that experience. So for example, on Tuesday, Trend, and if we have names that are missing or anybody that might be standing in, by all means, this is all high level planning as well. So in Trend, Ellie is going to be talking, for example, about trends, and then maybe the students explore a specific trend that is given to them. And then they go out and research that on the internet and they create mood boards. Then that orange block would be, after that, they will actually do a mood board and a trend board that relates to their collection. So we'll just take that and apply it to the next activity. Kate and Dakota in sales, possible activity would be, would you buy this and why, right? And just talking about what sells right now and is that relevant to them. In design, Alicia, looking at their favorite clothes. So again, them as the users, maybe they're talking about what their favorite clothes are. Why are they their favorite clothes? And then what are some updates to the items that sell well that maybe would make it something that is more likely that they would want to buy. Wednesday, we have a professional development conversation with the intern group that will just be starting with you at Kohls. And they'll be in breakout rooms talking about how they got to where they are today in their journey and how they got to Kohls. And what is really exciting is this is an age group that's probably pretty close, and they'll be able to share their experiences. Technical design, Amanda, we could brainstorm about what could be the adaptive line updates to some of the existing flows that are out there, that we could do that. For art, Alex will be talking about what he does, and then maybe sketch out a design on a template with a specific challenge given by the artist. Again, in Digital Academy, they are working within constraints and confines every project. So giving them a specific challenge that they have to incorporate would be really great. Thursday is a big day with all the art specifics. So Emily will be talking about typography, David graphics, Rocky will be doing a demo on plaid making. And I just realized that I copied and pasted, and I apologize to who is doing the print and pattern. I know it's not Rocky. So that's week one. And at the end of week one, we will be having the students kind of complete their first draft of their collection. And there will be an opportunity for some of the artists possibly to come in and help give some feedback as they're wrapping that up to get ready for their presentations that we'll start off on week two with. And so week two, the students will present where their collection is at that first draft. And then Eric, Jonathan, Eileen, Jessica, and Kelly will be there to give specific feedback about how they could push their concepts further, what would make the collection more successful. Any of that type of information will then inform what those students will do for the rest of that week that we saw all that orange. They'll be revising and reworking those collections to get it to that final presentation. In the afternoon, Eric and Kelly will be talking about 3D and giving a demonstration about how 3D is incorporated at Kohls. Our students have experience from past projects in 3ds Max, in Blender, in various Substance Painter. They have experience in various 3D programs, and usually really more in line with like game development and that type of stuff. So how is it used in a retail environment, and how are you guys using 3D software in that process? Then Heidi from legal will come and give a talk about, copyright laws and all that type of stuff. And, it could maybe be, is it legal, the game show, and, kind of have that question. And because, for those of us, my background is in creative. I was a creative director and graphic designer in the agency world for many years. It can be kind of a gray area of inspiration and all of that type of stuff. So that'll be a great conversation. Tuesday, store planning and marketing with Michelle. Maybe they're creating signage for the store, or a social post, or an ad for a specific program with assets that were provided for them. Then in turn, they'll turn around and maybe create some signage or hang tags or anything for their collections. And then we'll have another professional development conversation with Jen, and maybe it's around like who you are in the workplace and accommodations, and should I reveal my disability, and those types of things, as we've been talking about them going out into the workforce. Wednesday, we'll have the D&I team, Garland and Maria, and we thought this might be a great opportunity that you guys might actually want to, you'll have a focus group of young adults that are autistic, and you can ask them questions about anything with Kohls, or however we want to shape that. But it is an opportunity if you wanted to pick the brains of some highly creative, really cool people, that's there. And then we're working towards that big day on Thursday, which is the final presentations. It happens here on Zoom, just like this. You're all invited to that. We'll also be recording it, and we can share it if you can't join us. So a lot, but broken down into small pieces for a very exciting 2-week experience with all of you. And with that, open it up to any questions that you guys might have.
Anyone? Does that make sense to everybody?
I do have a question. This is really exciting. So are you working on like kind of teaching like the Creative Cloud stuff before this even begins too? So there's going to be kind of a foundation of some of these tools and programs?
So our foundation programs, the foundation workshop where they're creating that poster is done in Photoshop and Illustrator. All the students have exposure to it at varying levels. We have some students that are amazing illustrators. We have some students that are really interested in branding and graphics like that, and then others that are coders or 3D modelers. So it really is a wide range of knowledge. All of the students do have access to a computer, and they do have the Creative Cloud suite, mainly with that exposure of Photoshop and Illustrator. So that we do know, for example, the plaid building and the pattern making, there's specific software that you guys use at Kohls that we don't have access to. So most likely what will happen is looking at a demo of how plaids are built and that type of stuff. And then in that orange block of time, we'll turn around and teach them, here's a way you can build a pattern in Photoshop or Illustrator. Here's a way that you can build a plaid in Illustrator. And so we'll take that experience, and then with the software that they have, we'll give them an experience that they can then apply to their collection.
So do they get to kind of focus a little bit more on like a specialty? I mean, I think a lot of us do sort of specific things. We all do the same thing, but we all do kind of different things at the same time. So do they get to kind of see the big view and then say, this particularly interests me, like I'd love to focus here?
Yes. Yep. It's very much student driven. They select kind of on the team, they kind of step up and say, hey, I can do that. And somebody else on the team. So if they're building that collection, maybe all of them take a stab at creating a pattern, and then maybe one of them takes it and applies it to the form or whatever.
I think what we're excited about is having seen how our students create, that this now just gives them more of a form around how to apply that, because we have seen students do individual patterns with critters and different things like that, or design using shapes and things. So I think it's actually seeing stuff that they've kind of dabbled in and explored, and now like, oh, this is how it's applied in a professional design setting, towards a line of clothes or goods or things like that. So we're pretty excited about how they take kind of their talents and skills and then say, oh, I could really dive deep into that over these 2 weeks.
I wonder if is there an opportunity for them to have visibility to like the strike off process, and like see something and feel it and come back in hand? Is that something? Because that could be really rewarding too. It's like everything's so like conceptual until it comes back as this real piece of product. So I don't know if there's any opportunity for that, but that could be super fun.
Yeah, that could be really cool. Even if in one of the presentations, even if somebody had access to the strike-offs of something, to show like the visual on the screen, but then also like, this is what we look at to approve, like, how does the color look? How does the technique look? Like that could be cool to layer in. Even like, not putting you on the spot, David, since you asked, like if you guys have anything like that, like even if you're working on the graphics part of it, we could layer that into what you're talking about too.
Totally. Yeah. We can pull some stuff to share up front too. I think just understanding process as opposed to, and just seeing how some of the stuff is on the end result, and then talking from the beginning could be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there would be any benefit to maybe just kind of giving a cursory look at like the repeat and pattern software that we use here, but then like focus the instruction more about like how we would use like the tools that they have? Because there's a lot of people here that work within the tools that you already have. And so rather than us just showing like, here's how we do it with the tools you can't access, we could maybe just be like, hey, here's a quick peek at that. But then there's so many people here that, even I think you have Alex, I believe, doing that. Like even Alex, like even though Alex, I think, uses some of that, specialized software, he knows how to do it in Photoshop. And multiple techniques. And so I'm wondering if that might be a really good use of time in terms of like just giving them some more useful information.
Eric, 100%. We were thinking about, like, we would take that onus of, converting that from those learnings. But if you feel comfortable with and would love to teach the students how to do that in the software that they do have access to, that would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So we can probably fine tune that, like when you guys meet directly with Matt and Amy, you can talk about that and figure out what you conclude is the best way to use the little time chunk that you have. So I think that would be smart, because Alex, I bet you could do a good job with that, or we could pull somebody else in to do some of that too.
Alex could definitely kill it in that area. Yeah.
Totally down. I like manually making patterns in Photoshop anyways. It's fun.
Yeah, with these presentations, with these activities that you guys are developing, it really is just that exposure to a little bit of your world, as Mark said, how things that they might already like doing can be applied professionally to something. And that through line is really what it's all about. And so we'll help you guys kind of zhuzh it so that it's not too much, not too little. So don't worry too much about it. If you just come with the idea of, like, I think it'd be really cool and they'd be really stoked to do this. And then we can talk about what would that look like and how would we execute it the best. If there is specific software, again, the 3D example was one that we kind of went back and forth on, because they won't have access to that 3D software. And this project isn't really as much around that. They've had exposure to it in the past, but we don't necessarily want them to have to get a license to do a small piece of a project for that right now. So just that exposure of something that they already know, how do you use it in your daily lives at Kohls? Oh, that's another possibility of a career that I could be excited about. And that's what those opportunities are about. And then we'll kind of bridge those experiences into what they're doing for their own collections as well.
To talk about that through line a little bit, we have really had this happen in that user experience project last month, where we didn't know who would be interested in user experience, because our workshops are very much around design and creative things. And we're like, boy, I hope they like this. And then sure enough, like, some of the students are like totally getting into it and having lots of comments and, issues with the website and putting it all out there, and really taking the lead when we didn't know that, and they didn't know that was something they would be interested in. So I think that's what's really cool about the experiences that we're able to offer with industry professionals, is they get to hear right from, they're not hearing from like a college guidance counselor, oh, you could go into graphic design. This is the job I do, and this is what it looks like. And that is really, it really resonates for our students thinking about their futures. They're anywhere from 14 to 27 years old. So there's a wide range of ages. They're all doing different things. Some of them are in high school. Some of them are out of high school, working a part-time job. Some of them are in tech school, studying graphic design or coding. So you have a very wide range of, personas that you're talking to. It's not, a class of 15-year-old sophomores at, one high school. They're from all over the place. In Wisconsin, we have kids in Duluth even. So it's very wide. So just speak to like what you're passionate about and what you're good at and what's cool about your job. And you'll see the little like, oh my God, that looks really cool. That'll happen.
There's a lot of, I use the term fearless creators in this group. The entire cohort is still, filling out, but their kids have been in our workshops for 8 years now. It's kind of amazing to see, having seen them when they're 8-9 years, and now they're, high school age and then transition. And a lot of them have developed their own characters over the years, original characters and things like that. So that's what we're excited about, is that interaction between their creativity and your professional lens on that, and the collaboration there is pretty cool. So, and again, we cannot thank you enough.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge opportunity for them. It's the effort put in by the Kohls team into this, just in planning it. We are so excited about this. And I'm going to thank everyone. Mitch is coming over to our house. We're having a staff. I do wood-fired pizza here in the Napoli tradition. So we are going to do a party here either one of those Thursdays, either the first or second week, for all of the Kohls participants come over, and we'll drink wine and have pizza for anybody who's twice vaccinated and willing to come out and have fun together. So.
And I can say that it's delicious, as we've already sampled one of them before.
Yes, right.
What other questions do you have? Anything really detailed we can get into it during your meetings that we have with you. So if you haven't signed up for a meeting, sign up for that. If you need that link again, let me know, or Danae.
Yeah, and if you have questions that you want to ask me or Rocky. But I know I think people got different levels of information because I was trying to explain, and then I got really wordy because, as you can see, it's kind of a complicated thing to explain. Plus, I'm wordy. So, so if anybody needs more info or if you want to understand a little bit more about the project breakout stuff that they were talking about, and how we were kind of concluding what we were thinking about with that, and how much you have to do around it, we can talk about that too. So,
Danae, are there any other time slots with openings? Are you looking for any more teachers or panel members or anything?
You mean in the experience itself, Jonathan?
Yeah, in our in the schedule we laid out with Kohls participants, are there still holes to fill, or are we covered?
We could either we could use anybody that wants to act as one of the artists that comes in and either brainstorms with them closer to the beginning, or gives brainstorming feedback as they're doing it. So I think we have 6 people right now that I recruited over the last couple weeks. And then I don't know within any of the the print and pattern demos or the graphics demos or anything like that, that could always be something people could tag team on or bring a different perspective in there. I did recruit, you didn't have anybody for print and pattern. That's why you had that in there like that, Matt. But I found somebody yesterday for that and added her in. She wasn't able to come to this, but I have Caitlin Yoder from the women's team who's coming to do it. But then if there's somebody from a different team that would want to do their take on the print and pattern part, that could be another thing too. So
cool. And Danae, are you managing that schedule, or would we be scheduling with an Islands of Brilliance person? Are you the conduit?
I could help you. I have access to the big mural thing, and so I know what times everything's happening. And I've been putting people in on that. Cool. The thing that you'd be managing on your own, Amy sent out an email, and if you didn't get it, let me know because I can forward it to you. But that's where there's a link to sign up for that individual time that they were talking about on the Wednesday mornings to fine tune what you'd be doing. And I'll set a plug in here too. I think I wanted you guys to hear this first because I'm it's too much information. But I think for the art manager group that's doing this all together, or even the people that are doing the demos of the different the graphics and the print and pattern, maybe we could try to get you guys to all meet at the same time with them, so that you can hear all the same, all the art managers are hearing it at the same time. All the people doing the demos are talking to them at the same time, that sort of thing might make sense. So we can see how that works with your schedules too, because it's probably more important just to connect with them versus doing it all at once, but it might be more streamlined that way.
I had a thought too. Typically with the interns every year, we end up as we kind of teach, we share some assets throughout the teaching cycle, and we'll pass things along. I wonder if maybe on our end we could put together a little toolbox of assets that we could kind of pass off and say, here's a distress texture you can use and take home with you, and here's some brushes you can use. And you give them at least something that they can take away and practice with, I think could be really cool. And it wouldn't be a lot of like work on our end. It would be pulling a few, fabric swatches together and brushes and textures type of thing. But that could be kind of cool.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Are you up for starting something like that, David?
Yes, I'm volunteering myself to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, anything you guys are thinking about, like when we initially proposed this, we had a lot of different ideas of what we wanted to do. And the deck we built to talk about it was probably a little bit too detailed and a little bit too overwhelming. So we had shared it with Catherine, and Catherine was like, oh my God, nobody's going to have time to do all this because you guys are like, there's a lot of time in here. You don't want people to not be able to like follow through and like give them the experience we promise. So we pared it back to being these little bursts, which I also think is good for the students, but especially in the art part, like that's what these guys are learning, right? So they're gonna inherently, I think, be more interested to learn more about it than we maybe block time for. So if there's anything that you're thinking about like that as we're talking, like that's great. Like we can talk about adding that stuff in, because I think Rocky especially is, he likes to improvise a lot, right? So he's always like, well, if we're talking and something comes up, like we can always pull somebody in and have them talk about this the next day or whatever. So I don't know, there might be, a little bit of opportunity to do that sort of thing too. But if there's anything on the front end that you guys think about and want to add in, like I don't think these guys would be opposed to that at all.
I had a quick question about the presentation check-ins that we signed up for.
Yep.
For those presentation check-ins, so should we be coming to those with like our ideas like fleshed out of being like, hey, I want to like teach this during the presentation, like during that initial one, or like what should we bring to that as the presenters for that? That makes sense?
Yeah, if you have your general idea of what you want to bring forward, then what we'll do for you is help you keep it because I don't know if that happens to you when you talk about what you do, but you probably use language that's more difficult to understand than a lay person who doesn't do your job. And as an occupational therapist working at a place that's design focused, it happens to me every single day. I use language that no one understands, and the designers use language that I don't understand. So we're always finding that middle place. So that's what we'll be able to do for you. Like, oh yeah, this is great language to use around this topic. How to structure it, how much information to put on a slide, stuff like that. A lot of stuff you probably already know, but we'll make sure it's tailored to our students. You don't have to have your slide deck totally finished, but if you want to have it finished so that we can review it and then make the changes to it, that could be more efficient than not coming with anything and then us having to follow up again later to see if, to get another check on it. Does that help, Alex?
That helps immensely. Thank you.
Sure.
And there might be things that wouldn't need a slide deck too. Like there could be some areas that wouldn't need that, but like we talk a lot about how everybody's really visual, right? For like what we do mainly, but also what the students are learning. So like anything, even that if it's a simple visual would be helpful, but that's not something that again has to be like, it makes more sense for certain things than others, I think.
Yeah, if it's sharing your screen and showing software that you work in, totally great. I mean, whatever format you are most comfortable in. We do work in the Google suite, so Google slide decks are what we use to present, but we can import a PowerPoint into that. And whatever deck you do build, if you do build one, then those slides I'll export and put into the mural so that the students will be able to have access to that. Following up as they're working on their process, they can always review back to that. So really, whatever format you feel is the best way to share your information and to give a great experience to the students is what we would encourage you to move forward with. It is virtual, and so we have a lot of experience in how we've figured out over the last year how to create these experiences in Photoshop and Illustrator so that they're able to execute that and sharing their screens and everything as well. So whatever idea you have, we might have some experience of like, oh, that would work well if we did it this way. And that's what really those follow-up meetings are all about. So
awesome. Sweet, thank you. That I'm probably going to share my screen, so I'll probably just do like a run through of like, here's what I was thinking.
Yeah. One note, a lot of our students learn both visually and for a lot of them, it's really great if they have something that they can also read. So if you are teaching something that has a process, if you could break it down maybe into the steps, and then we could help build a one sheet reference of like, oh, do this and then this and then this. If something that you're doing is like highly process driven. Otherwise, you know, we'll figure that out in most meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Do you have any, I don't know, feedback on whether learning, like following along to do activities with, as opposed to kind of watching go through it? Is there, you know, is there feedback on what might be better?
We typically, oh, go ahead, Amy.
We do like a you do, we do thing with the students sometimes. They work in like in the big room like this. It could be hard to do that if we went into, if you gave us 2 things to do and then we went to our breakout rooms and tried those 2 things and the mentor could coach it in that moment and then we came back. That could be like a process that we've used in Zoom before. It depends on, it is a small amount of time for the presentation part, but for the activity part, we could use breakout rooms to, go do something and come back. It is helpful.
How you might have covered this. How big of groups are these going to be? Kind of these breakouts or these sessions? How large of a group typically?
We're hoping that there's only 4 students in a group. I'm working on getting mentors right now. And that is kind of going well. I'm super excited about that. So the team leaders are going to be people who understand the software and general principles of design or are working in the industry. So those people will lead the team. So if you say, XYZ, hopefully that person that's leading that team will, kind of understand what you're talking about. They might not be in the exact same field that you're in, but they'll understand the steps that need to be taken in the software to do the thing. So then they can explain it again. Yay.
We could not be more excited about this
we're so excited.
opportunity, and thank you for your time today. Thank you for your time to be willing to create these experiences with us for these students. It's just going to be amazing. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And remember, any of the time you're even planning any of this or you're meeting with these guys, it all counts for volunteer hours also. So if you can track that, we have Emily from Community Relations on, I think she's on this call again. She joins us every time, but she's been setting up things for us in Benevity, which is awesome. So we can also get these guys some money to help their program by doing what we're doing. So remember that part too.
Yeah, thanks, Danae. Hi guys. I'll actually send the link to you, Danae, if you want to distribute to the team. But yes, please ensure you're tracking all of your time, because even like after 1 hour, even if you're doing 15 minutes at a time, Benevity is smart enough to get that donation down to, even 8 minutes or whatever. So yeah, really, really excited to see this come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so remember, I'm here to help if anybody has questions or anything. And thank you again, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.